Hello and welcome to Sutton Impact Family Style, episode 371. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill. And Jason and I decided to start talking about the new world of baseball statistics.
Yes.
With the incorporation of the Negro League statistics. Now, one thing I want to know is all the barnstorming games where Satchel Paige would just pick up a bunch of guys and go play against Lou Gehrig and those guys. Are those stats included? Or just the games when they were playing in the Negro League?
I think it's just the games in the Negro League, but they did point. I mean, that's for anyone that's been on the wrong side of this argument, which is anyone against these stats. They pointed out that when they did do the barnstorming and they played Major League Baseball teams, the Negro League players had a winning record. And then the second that it was incorporated, I think it was like 9 of the next 15 MVPs were all from the Negro League. So you don't really have a leg to stand on if you're against this in any way, shape, or form. It's just...
No. What I'm saying, though, is, people like statistics. They like the numbers, the source of the numbers to be accurate.
Exactly.
And one of the things you have with the Negro Leagues is the number of games played. I mean, teams might play and then take 3 weeks off and play again, do different things. I mean, and record keeping was kind of shabby. So, I mean, I'm all for including statistics, but I want to know that everything is valid. I want to know that this is for real.
Yeah.
That they play, the games were played, they were the real games and everything else. So I'm not against it. I think it's a great idea. And I love Josh Gibson, I love Satchel Paige, I love all those guys. I just want to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples.
True. But as of now, Josh Gibson is the new home run king of Major League Baseball.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm sure part of that is getting to knock Barry Bonds away, right?
You can make that argument, yeah.
Yeah.
You can make that argument. Move over Babe Ruth, move over Barry Bonds. Here comes Josh Gibson.
Yeah.
One thing I kind of like is that Josh Gibson's grandson is in Pittsburgh and very active. Pirates and him are very active in youth baseball in Pittsburgh with the Josh Gibson Foundation.
Which is great.
So I think it's a nice platform for that.
Yeah.
And, the fact that Josh Gibson played in Pittsburgh.
Which doesn't hurt either. That makes me like him even more.
So that's why I like that.
Yeah.
But, big doings and everything. There's been some criticism, but for the most part, I think people pretty much accepted it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you could have probably done this 20 years ago or 30 years ago, but it's nice that we, as much as people like to complain about us not making progress as a country and a nation, like this is, it seems like it's, like you said, from what I've seen, it seems like about 80-90% approval rating. So it's nice that we've come to that standpoint. And all the players seem to be very much behind it and very excited about it too, so.
And I guess an unintended consequence, it'll make the show a lot better to play.
It could. Yeah. They've already actually been incorporated before, so. That was always in the game.
So they wanted to change anything, or?
No, they were like you could play them, you could add them to your teams. Yeah, it's just a matter of.
I wonder now that since there's the physics are incorporated, if their power in the game is higher.
That could be a possibility for sure.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Well, do you want to just hop over to as we're doing the show with the video game? Do you want to hop to another video game?
Yeah, let's hop over to the college football game. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, for the first time, and I think since the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit, EA's college football is back with the actual players, stadiums, mascots, likeness, all of it. They've said some really good things that I like to hear. There's some things I'm skeptical about. One, just having the college football game back, it was always a little bit more fun than Madden, whether you're playing, on blue fields or red fields, you're running the option, you're running like crazy, college, offenses that just don't exist in the NFL. So you had like a wider variety of plays to choose from. The one thing that I really like that they're saying they're doing in this game, and I do not have hands-on at this point, but in the past, if you recruited a 5-star recruit, they wouldn't necessarily feel that much better than a 3-star recruit. And so especially if you're playing at a higher level. And the one thing they're claiming is that if you have a star on your team, they will feel like a star on the field. So while they might not be able to dominate Texas completely, like if you're playing, Texas Southern and you're Alabama, you're probably going to just run roughshod over them like they would in real life. And you're going to feel that the players feel faster, they feel bigger, they feel stronger. The one thing I'm nervous about is they said there's going to implement a stamina damage type thing, so that if your players are hit a lot in the game, they might perform slightly worse. And I know that that's technically a nod to trying to make it more realistic, but sometimes going super realistic doesn't always translate to fun activities and gameplay, if that makes any sense.
But you know what could be around the corner?
What is that?
The NIL and paying the players, so you might have a salary cap for your team.
Yeah, I think that is discussed because you do have to recruit in the game. And the recruiting was like a game of, you would pick the player you wanted, and, you already had it was almost like a green to red rating. So if you were, let's say you were LSU, like I used to like to be, and you were recruiting a player out of Oregon, you were already starting at like a 20 on a scale of 100 because that guy didn't want to leave the region. He wanted to stay close to home. So you had to do extra recruiting, and then it just became a game of like, here's 4 things you can say to this kid to get him to come to your school. And, does he, did you hit the right notes? And then they said this one, there's actually going to be consequences because in the old games, you could promise every 5-star recruit you would give them playing time. And whether you did or you didn't in the first season, it wouldn't really matter. But now they're claiming that if you tell people you're going to get playing time, and if you bench them or don't give them playing time, they won't believe you on other recruits, which all sounds really fun and cool.
It's I think, I give credit to EA for trying to be as realistic as they could in this edition, and I'll be curious to see how well it sells.
Yeah, I will say this, like Madden and EA in general have sort of I don't know, I guess they're sort of like, they're perceived as being, they're a corporation, right?
Right.
And when you play Madden, one frustrating thing is, depending on the mode you play in Madden, and this is 2K, this is Call of Duty, it's a lot of games where they want to monotonize as much as possible. So if you're building your own character, let's say in Madden, your own football player, you can slowly earn points to build him up, or you can buy points to make him better. And if you buy a more expensive edition, you get more points to start with. And if you put in extra credits like you would in Fortnite or Roblox or any of these games, because that's just like art and commerce, we always have that push and pull, right? And
Yes.
EA in the past has been one of the more egregious companies where it feels really dirty as far as their monotonization. And then the one thing people hate, especially when you're playing online, is the play to win philosophy, which is, if you have more money than me, your character's going to be better than mine and you'll beat me. And EA in the past has gone down that road, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen with this edition. Like, there has to be ways to continue to monotonize while keeping the community happy and the fan base feeling like everybody has a fair chance to win. And I'm hoping that's what's happening. But it is EA.
I mean, you've got to, as when we talk to Dan, it's all about keeping the players happy and excited and involved in the decision making and having input and being a key part of bringing the game forward.
But EA, like, here's a quick example for the listeners. They've always been a step on the rake sort of company where you have a game like Star Wars Battlefield. And the simplest way to monotonize, because it's Star Wars, you would have a base set of characters, and you could charge for additional characters. And then you could charge for, think about like the action figures when I'm a kid, right? And I want this Luke Skywalker with his base uniform. And then I want Luke Skywalker dressed as a stormtrooper. And then I want Luke Skywalker dressed in his, getting his medal award. And, Luke the Dagobah Skywalker. Like, there's just so many different Luke Skywalker skins you could sell.
Right.
Which would be a great way to monotonize. Instead, they chose a pay-to-win philosophy where you could pay to make your character just better than everybody else's and buy special guns. And that game tanked. And they just have to be careful. Like, there's ways to monotonize and keep things fair and on the level where, some people would still be upset because they feel like they should get all the looks. But there's ways, again, you could charge lightsaber colors and laser color. Like, there's so many ways you can charge that don't actually affect gameplay. And that's something that EA has not been good at in the past.
And when you're worried about how you're going to monetize, I mean, you have to understand what the market can bear, what the players can bear, what's going to turn them off.
Yeah,
And that's got to be a prime consideration. So hopefully they've done it. So the game comes out on June 19th, I've been told.
it does. And I am
So
I'm
how do you get this game? How is it available?
it's
You
available
download
on
it.
PC, PlayStation, Xbox. Not Nintendo right now because Nintendo's not powerful enough for it. But it's available on all those platforms. And then eventually they'll make an iPad version and some other versions. So, and it right now the base game, and again this is where it gets a little tricky. The base game is $69.99. The deluxe edition, which comes with 4,600 Madden points or college football points that help you make a better recruit, is $99.99. So
Uh,
the one thing they are offering for customers, if you did want to own both college football and Madden, you can get both deluxe editions for $150, which is only $10 more than you would pay for both base games, which is pretty
okay.
cool. But the one thing that they're not doing that they used to do, you used to be able to take, you could create players or your team in, you could take all the players from each season of college football, and that could become the people you draft in Madden. But they're not doing that this year, at least not at launch. So it was kind of cool. Like you could create yourself. You could create Bill Sutton, the player. He could be a freshman quarterback, Oklahoma State. You could rise him up to be a Heisman winner and a national champion, and then you could draft that player into Madden, which was always pretty fun.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Because then you got this. Like I said, at this point they said that's not in the game, which I was kind of surprised at because you're trying to sell two football games to probably the same audience within a 2 month period. So you would think you'd want as much synergy between the two as possible, but they've specifically said that's not part of the game currently.
And you would hypothetically hope that you could sell more of the combo packs than the single game packs.
Oh yeah, and it's tempting, but $150 is a lot of money for two football games.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to the non-virtual world of the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and I've been giving this a lot of play in my mind, and I just think that Luka and Kyrie right now are just in the zone, and I can't go against Dallas.
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna root for Boston, but I think Dallas is gonna win.
see what's odd is I feel like in my heart I'm rooting for Dallas, but I'm picking Boston, and I'm picking Boston for this. For the entire season, they are 76-20. They have the highest. They have the highest point differential. You have two incredible players in Tatum and Brown, who potentially each could guard Luka as well as probably anybody can in the NBA. You're not going to stop Luka. We don't even have to have that discussion, right? But you have two 6'8" strong dudes that can go against him. You throw in a Derek White and a Drew Holiday who can throw on Kyrie, and I think you've got a nice recipe. Assuming that Porzingis is healthy and is able to protect the rim a little bit. And we have not seen Porzingis since I think Game 2 of the first round of the playoffs.
Yes, it's been a while.
But he has had 36 consecutive days off.
Okay, and I like where Dallas is since the trade,
Oh yeah,
picking up two big men. I like their energy. I like their fire and their zeal. I just really like the way they're playing right now. And the way they're playing right now is very cohesive and very, very focused. And I don't know. I mean, Luka's having a playoff like you rarely see. I mean, he's just like, come stop me.
yeah, and I think if he wins as the best player on the team, he would be the second youngest player ever to do so, with the first youngest being Larry Bird when he was 24 and a half. Like Dwayne Wade won pretty young, but he had Shaq. Kobe won pretty young with Shaq. Shaq was a nice feature to
Yeah.
have. Tim Duncan won at 24, but he did have David Robinson sort of still at the tail end of his prime. So, you know, it's Luka, Kyrie, and Kyrie was, didn't have a lot of options 2 years ago, right? Not a lot of people had faith in Kyrie as being a contributor on a winning basketball team, let alone, the Robin to a Batman. And he's been just that.
I mean, I want to see how he's going to respond in his first game on the road in Boston, in a big game, in a big playoff game.
In a city he's played in.
A city where he alienated a lot of people.
Yeah. And people sometimes forget that Boston has been to, I think, with Tatum and Brown, they've been to 4 Eastern Conference Finals, and this will be the second time they played in the finals, and the last time they lost to a Golden State team. So, not a joke of a team by any stretch, and a lot of playoff experience. Drew Holiday, NBA champion with the Milwaukee Bucks.
It's a big improvement for them.
Yeah. I mean, I think you would worry a little bit about, the East was not great this year. They haven't been really challenged in any series in the playoffs, right? I don't think anybody was.
Not really, no. I mean, they've had like a brain fart game every series, but that's about it.
Yeah. But it never felt like,
No. It never felt like they were out of control, they couldn't do it, or, whatever. Yeah, I agree.
And Dallas had to go through the Clippers, whatever you want to think about the Clippers, but they still have, variants of Kawhi, Paul George, Westbrook, and, Harden. They beat an Oklahoma City team who was very good. And then they stomped Minnesota, who beat the champs in Denver. That's a pretty good road to get here.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma City, that was a 7-game series.
It
right?
was. Yeah.
It was a 6.
No, it was 7. And went the full
7. And the 7th game was in Oklahoma City, which was impressive.
Yeah. And, also shout out to Derek Lively, who does not look like a rookie when he plays. He's been
not at all
a fantastic draft pick for that squad. I think, the Mavericks winning is the more exciting sports story, too. But Tatum is also a 25-year-old superstar, and Jaylen Brown's a 26-year-old superstar, and, it's hard to say.
It's going to be a great series.
Yeah.
I don't think it goes any less than 6 games.
No, I'm hoping for I want a classic 7-game series, Game 7 in the TDS Waterhouse Arena, I guess, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And I just want to see great performances overall.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's going to be good.
Yeah. Because people are not excited about the draft, so we have to be excited about the finals and then wait till next season.
Yeah, let's start spinning some more stories about the draft to get us excited about it. There's not much.
It's tough.
I mean, it looks like the top players are going to be international.
Or a G League Ignite, and I don't know very many casual fans that watch G League Ignite.
No, I don't either.
I mean, when you have a star in college, it's Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Cameron Britt, on the WNBA, who we'll transition to right now. Those were household names in the draft, and you were excited when they were coming to your team. And I think the best local college products are some tennis or some Kentucky kids who, there's varying degrees of how good people think they are going to be. But I think one thing we've seen from Kentucky players, including Derek Lively, is that a lot of them just aren't getting a chance to shine that much in college, in the Kentucky program. So that they're not like, we're not super excited. We're like, usually it's sort of like, how good was that guy in college? And it's like, he was good, but we didn't know he was this good. So there's something in that system that seems to suppress their pro potential a little bit. But it seems like this might be a good WNBA time since everybody's talking WNBA, right?
Yeah, and your point that you brought up about Greeny and Monica McNutt about a lot of WNBA fans, new fans, is that they haven't watched pro basketball and they're used to the college game, and it's significantly different, as is The women's game at the pro level is much more physical than the women's game at the college level, just like the men's game is.
Right.
And so the Caitlin Clark fans, as you said, are not accepting it or understanding it or accepting it.
Right.
And they're making it like a crusade. And, you know, we've said all along that a player with that much hype coming into that league is going to be tested and is going to be hazed, if you want to say hazed, but definitely tested.
Yeah.
And, they're going to guard her. I mean, they're going to make their money by shutting her down, and they're going to get her time on SportsCenter by shutting her down because she's going to get the coverage.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that what's lost on it is that she comes in and all of a sudden playing in WNBA is a lot better deal than it was before.
Yeah.
They're getting better airflow. Still not getting paid very well, but anyhow. And then we have the new league now that Brianna Stewart starting. It's going to be a 3-on-3 league. It's going to be a higher paying than the WNBA.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to see. And we'll see who goes to play in that and see what the reaction is to that. But the fan base has to understand that it's a different game.
Yeah, I would recommend everybody Google Monica McNutt from ESPN and just watch her discuss it. Because like I said, she's a former player who covers the league right now. And as she pointed out, the one play where she got just checked like a hockey player when she was trying to get the ball in bounds was not a good basketball play. There's no no matter what happened before, that's not a good look. She acknowledges that. But she said, if you look, Cameron Britt's taking some hits. Like everybody, all the new players, and it's like physical game. She's like, and people need to realize, for us to be discussed like other sports, we need to be treated like other sports and not like we're talking to children. This isn't a bunch of fourth graders and your kid gets pushed on the playground. Like this is professional basketball, and and we could have a whole other discussion about, the way we treat athletes and the way we talk about athletes, whether that's a good, positive way to talk about them or fair. But I think the WNBA players want to be discussed in the same vein as other players. If they don't feel like they're getting, looked at differently. They want to be looked at as we're just like every other sport. Like you can criticize us. You can give us, the same, when, not ridiculous Stephen A takes about how Kawhi Leonard is the worst superstar in basketball history, which is just a dumb take. But, legitimately good takes from other players. Did you see Stephen A's take?
No, I never watched Stephen A. I can't bear to watch it.
Yeah, it just kept popping up from some of the sports social media I follow. He basically went on a rant about Kawhi Leonard being the worst superstar and made a dumb comparison to Kirk Cousins. Because I don't think it's fair to Kirk Cousins, who's been, a solid professional quarterback. He's done a great job of getting himself paid. And, not all the losses in the playoffs are his fault, right? Some are, some aren't.
Right.
But Kawhi Leonard has been the best player on 2 championship teams. Like, I don't see how you can say he's been a disappointing superstar. The injuries and, he's not, the most jovial, fun person to hang out with probably. I saw some WNBA player was like incredibly excited that she got him to smile. She thought that was one of the biggest accomplishments of her career. Or he chuckled, which is pretty rare for Kawhi Leonard, who does seem like a robot. But to compare him to say he's the worst player, superstar we've ever had, is just ridiculous, I think. But, that's Stephen A.
He's got 2 rings.
Yeah. And 2 finals MVPs.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say, there's a lot of people that don't have that.
No. And I feel like when he went to Toronto and brought that team a chip, like that was solidifying his status as a great player of all time. I'm not sure where he would rank on the list. Maybe, he obviously wouldn't be as high as a lot of players, but he's great. So.
Yeah, again, he doesn't market himself. He doesn't promote himself.
No.
He's not great with the press. And all those things have a cost.
Yeah.
So, it's just what it is.
And when he's been healthy, he's played really well. And I know he hasn't been healthy very much at all over the last 3 seasons, 4 seasons, maybe longer. But I don't know what you can do about that. I don't feel like he's not looking like he's out of shape when he's coming to play. he just has a lot of recurring injuries, and I think that just bodies are built different. Some people just don't recover like others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to shout out to the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah. Go Canada.
So Edmonton and Florida.
Yeah.
In the finals, Florida will be favored, but you get arguably the best player in the NHL playing, and it's not a great. I can't imagine ESPN's real happy when they could have had New York and Dallas, but
no, but
it is what it is.
I mean, Connor McDavid's an incredible player. So, and again, I think Canada winning.
A lot of people haven't gotten a chance to see him. Will now get a chance to see him.
Yeah, and once you watch him, I think you'll be impressed. And then I always root, if it's not the Penguins, I just want Canada to keep winning all the cups, and they just haven't won one in quite a while. And
32 years, I think it is. 1993, 31 years, the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
The last Canadian team to win a cup.
And as much as we love the Lightning on a personal level, I don't really think Florida needs any more Stanley Cups. At least not anytime soon.
No.
You can't even play hockey there anytime during the year.
A good shout out for them. I got Paul Skeens pitching against the Dodgers on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I know that the secondary ticket market will be through the roof. And I've already talked to the Pirates today, and they're expecting that Wednesday's not going to be a great weather day. So you look for them to try and get that game in regardless, and be playing in the rain and some other conditions, because you don't want to give back that gate.
No, you do not. And he's got a nice momentum going right now, and you don't want to lose any of that, as far as creating baseball.
So I want to see Paul Skeens against Ohtani and against Freddie Freeman. I mean, this will be a real test. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. And if you're a gymnastics fan, I'm sure Livy Doon will be there as well. So
yeah,
it's a win-win for everybody.
I didn't mean to jump. I should stay with WNBA because I want to talk about the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark thing, which, the media's making that into Larry Bird and Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. And you got a black player and white player, and you got super rivals, played each other in the national championship. There's a lot of parallels, there's a lot of similarities.
Yes, there is.
And they are making this, I think, more than it is. But Angel Reese is helping because she's not, she's really fanning the flames.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is the, no pub is bad. Like I said, WNBA, they're getting lots of highlights on SportsCenter. There's like 4 or 5 different WNBA players that have State Farm ads right now and Subway ads. So this is their time, right?
Yeah.
Be as loud and as vocal as possible, I guess. But yeah, it's not, not yet. It's not Bird Magic. We'll see in a couple of years, maybe.
And you also know if you're playing the Indiana Fever, you're going to be on the national telecast.
Yes.
So, a lot of ways to get exposure.
And I'm sure you get people that start to follow you to say bad things about you on your social media, which in a bizarre way does help you because you have more followers. And yeah, it's a whole system. You gotta go for it.
Stuff, man.
Yeah. We had some meals together this week.
We did have some meals together. We went to the tried and true Eulalie, one of the Gone Smart restaurants in Tampa, and it never disappoints.
And it's a very cool. Yeah, and it's a very cool location too.
Yeah.
You got the water. You have it's really beautiful. And I will say, as my food moment, that key lime stack was as good of a key lime pie as I've ever had. It was like a very smooth key lime pie with like a small layer of meringue toasted on top, and it was just phenomenal.
Yeah, that makes boiling the meringue is a big thing.
It is, because it needs that to it just cuts the sour just enough with the sweet, just to make it perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the best ice cream I've ever had.
Oh wow.
Not custard, but best ice cream. But it's Valrhona chocolate, and I have no idea what Valrhona chocolate is. I'll have to look it up, but it's amazing.
Yeah, it looked really good. Like I said, everything was good. And we watched
And
watched some TV together.
we did watch some TV together, and you turned us on to
Love on the
Love on the
Spectrum.
Spectrum.
Yeah.
Love on the Spectrum, which is uplifting, it's amusing, it's sensitive, it's sad, it's funny, it's just
Educational.
really, you can't help but watch it and feel for the people on the show, but also feel a little bit better about people to see how people are treated
Yes.
and the care that goes in. It was fun watching it.
And if you have questions about autism and the spectrum and how far people can go one way to the other, like it's also very educational just to watch and see the process and you know some people you may not have even suspected, and you're like, oh well, that maybe I should have been a little more all those sorts of things. So it's really
I
good.
mean, we had the benefit of watching it with Sharon, Jason's mother, my wife, who's a special education teacher,
Yeah.
and who's worked with autistic people before, and so we get her commentary and her explanations as we were watching this. So it was really good as well.
And the whole thing is, I think the first season is 8 episodes and the second season is 7 episodes. And it basically follows most of the same people throughout both seasons. So it's not like the biggest time commitment either. And like I said, you really will like it.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable. Very enjoyable.
And on the other end of enjoyable but not uplifting at all, I did watch the TikTok cult also on Netflix, which sounds bizarre, but there were a bunch of dancers on TikTok who had lots of followers, and they ended up joining this church. And they joined a church of a man who had already had his own sort of beginner cult in the beginning. He got accused of abusing people. It shut down. And then he started a new one where he was also a management company for TikTok dancers and was managing their money. And like he did get them on shows like Ellen and some other places, but I really need a cult show because it has footage of him talking. And much like Keith Raniere from Nexium and some of the others, I need to hear a cult leader who sounds like somebody that could really get some people to follow him, because I just don't hear it from these people. I just, I don't get it. It just boggles the mind. But, and his cult is still running, and it's in Los Angeles, and it's a very new one. Like I said, it's a TikTok cult, so pretty crazy.
I got a couple books I want to shout out for my entertainment as well. I just finished Doris Kearns Godwin on An Unfinished Love Story, talking about her and her husband, who both worked in the Kennedy. Well, he worked in the JFK administration. They both worked in the LBJ administration, and then he also worked for Bobby Kennedy. And it was also just talking about their lives together and all those fantastic things that they worked on. It was a really good read.
Okay.
And then I finished the first story in Stephen King's new collection, You'll Like It Darker. And Jason and I were talking about this, and I said, I hope there's a good one there. And I just finished the first one, and, it wasn't great, but it was very good and held my attention.
And that's all, I mean, especially for a short story.
Before the next 8 or 9 stories.
And you said it's like 2 novellas and like 8 or 9 short stories?
Yep.
And the first one was just a short story, as opposed to like the full.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, the first one, yeah, it was good though. It was really good.
Oh, here's an additional food moment. My wife ate one of those Goldbelly cookies you got, and she had loved it. She said it tasted like Christmas.
Oh, the gingerbread molasses cookie from the Ginger Peach.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what the name was. Yeah.
Did you try one?
Just a little bite. But she said she just thought it was incredible.
Yeah, it's a really, really good cookie.
And I figured I'd shout that out too, but I was like, I don't remember what it was called, but I knew you would know.
Gingerbread and molasses with some caramelized sugar on top. It's just a sweet, simple cookie.
Yeah.
And we also had some cheesecake from the Nuns of New Skate.
We did.
Which is always a great cheesecake.
Those nuns know how to make cheesecake, yeah.
Yeah. Their chocolate cheesecake is my favorite chocolate cheesecake ever. It's got a very rich chocolate taste and it's very creamy.
Yeah. Goldbelly really hits with the desserts. They're quite good.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
And just because I just had it, my last thing I'll say today is, if you're near a Culver's, go to Culver's. It's really good. I don't know.
Yes. Culver's never disappoints.
It just doesn't. It's a pretty good value for what you're getting, especially in this economy with people complaining about the price of McDonald's and Wendy's. Like, you're not going to be disappointed in your Culver's meal, and the frozen custard is out of this world. So,
And if you've never had frozen custard, you're denying yourself one of the great treasures of earth.
yes, you are. And you'll wonder why this isn't the standard and ice cream is something else. Yeah. So by the time we talk to you next week, I think we'll have at least 2 finals games in the books, right?
Right?
Yeah. So we'll have some news. Oh, and I guess a special shout out to Justin Jefferson, who just got paid.
Paid big time, and now we're going to see a chain reaction.
Yeah.
A chain reaction of teams paying the best receiver, and possibly the unintended consequence of losing some of their best receivers.
Yeah, I think the receiver market looks like the running back market from like a decade ago, where if you're Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, you're going to get paid. And if you're anybody else, sorry, T. Higgins, it's not going to be good for you. You know, if you're that next tier, because there's too many rookies out there that they can go sign and get similar production, right? We saw, I think there was 20-something receivers taken in the first 4 rounds this year. And I don't know. Yeah. So again, it seems like it's going to be a very top-bottom market, just like our economy.
If I'm CD Lamb, I probably want $140 million too.
Yeah. Or at least you could talk me into 139, I think.
139,999.
Yeah, I'll take a tiny bit less than Justin Jefferson, but not much, because I think CD Lamb was, I think unequivocally the best receiver in football last year.
Unbelievable season last year.
1,700 yards, 12 touchdowns.
On my fantasy team, he was great.
Yeah. But he and Jamar Chase put out a picture of themselves together congratulating Justin Jefferson, and they're both, looking for money. So.
And like we said before, so what's it mean for T. Higgins?
Yeah. And Brandon Ayuk, who's also wanting a new contract out in San Francisco.
You got guys that they've had to pay a bunch of people. I mean, I can't imagine the Dallas Cowboys without CD Lamb.
No. And I feel like given this amount of money you had to pay him, and the money everybody else wants, like if you're the Bengals, like I don't even know what you could get for T. Higgins, because you're trading not just for a player who's really good, but he's going to want to get paid right away. So,
And he's not going to want to hear any excuses.
No. I don't know. That's a pretty busy week in sports, and I guess we'll talk to you next week.
Peace out.